Hello YouTube, it's me Vdeogamer, and this is the How to Draw Video Game Characters tutorial, and today I'm going to be drawing Toon Link from The Legend of Zelda. The supplies for this tutorial, you're going to need a sketchbook or copy paper, pencil with an eraser, mechanical pencil for details, permanent markers for outlines, and colored pencils if you want to color your drawing. Let's get started. First off, what I plan to do is I plan to outline just the general sketch outline. And this will allow me to position my characters ahead of time. For Toon Link, what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with his big, round, huge eyes. They're pretty much ovals in general, but they've got a little bit of points to the edges of them. His nose is just a little nub, and his mouth is rather big for his head. From there, we're going to move on to the general hairline. And this doesn't have to be anything detailed yet. You're just putting on the sketch so we can go into detail later. He's got one small spike just above his first eye, and then he's got a huge spike right up on top of that. His hair is super puffy, and it just looks really quite cartoonish, hence Toon Link. You don't have to get super detailed yet. And Toon Link doesn't have that much detail anyway, so even if you get it wrong, it'll still look fine. His eyebrows are basic triangle shapes right above his eyes. We're going to make Toon Link look kind of angry, and the way you can do this is angle his eyebrows down on his eyes more. And his face is just a basic circle shape. Give a little bit more definition to the eyes by outlining them with your pencil a bit more. And then we're going to draw on his sideburns, I guess. I don't know what they really are. They're just tufts of hair flying out from his face. And based upon how he's moving, I decided to have them going to the left of the drawing. It might take you a while to get the facial features right, but you don't have to worry about that too much whenever you're sketching. It'll all come together whenever it's finished. Now we're going to move on to the hat. You can only draw so much of it because in my drawing, his hands are covering his hat. But be creative. You don't have to do the exact same pose I chose. Wow, that rhymed. Alright. On his sleeve for his tunic, just bring that out a bit on his arm. Sort of represent where his arm begins. And from there, his arm just goes out and above his head a bit, and your hair, you can just do whatever to that. Give his eyes some eyelids a bit, and the way you can do that is just add another line right below the top of the eyes. If you want, you can just position the eyes to make it look like they're looking at Link more. Sort of make his eyes angry. He's battling Link to the death. Well, maybe not the death. Till the KO. Once you start feeling comfortable with how the lines look on your drawing and how the overall face looks, you can start outlining it with your pencil for later outlining. Like, just outline it with your pencil a bit, and then you can remember that that's the outline you want to keep. And this really starts defining your drawing a lot more for you. Don't worry so much about all the excess sketch lines laying around. We can clean those up later. And take your pencil and just start working on some of the details of the face. And the sleeve of the shirt below. And at the end of the shirt, it just sort of cuffs off. Don't start working on the hands just yet. We'll work on those later with the sword, because those kind of go hand in hand. Crap, what is up with all these puns? I did not even mean to say that. Wow. Hand in hand. Get it? Sorry about that. Alright, from there, we can start working on the overall shape of the body. I decided to have Toon Link look like his body's just getting a lot of stress from the battle between him and Link. And his legs would be sort of bent. And his body's just going off to the side, kinda. And then his legs are stanced against the ground for traction, I guess. His tunic just sort of comes out above it all, just about halfway on his legs. And you can fan this out however you want, and you just want to make it look like it's kept very loose. It's so he can move his legs around better. For one leg, I decided to have it bent, like he's ready to spring up any time. The other leg would just be kept straight, going down onto the floor. Now, the best thing about sketch lines is that if you mess up, you can easily erase it and sort of start over. You want to make sure that you're not drawing too dark whenever you're drawing a new portion of his body. Otherwise, it becomes very hard to get rid of that line and redraw it. And I make mistakes a lot too, as you can see in these drawings. I don't really cut out many of my mistakes here. But if you make a mistake, just erase it and try again. Once again, you don't have to do the exact same pose that I used in this drawing. If you want to practice it like this, that's fine, but be creative with your drawings, and maybe if you want to, you can post a video response of how you drew this character, and show me what you did to make it basically your own drawing. So we're coming back up to the other arm again to finish off the arms. Basically, it's just like this other arm. The only difference being that you have to position this one a little bit differently because he's holding the sword above his hand. If you have a little bit of trouble thinking about what that would look like because your source picture is not quite like it, or you just really don't have any idea, what you can do is you can take your own hands and your own body kind of and just sort of hold your hands above your head like you yourself are holding the sword, and just kind of think about what that would look like and understand how that looks in real life, and if need be, take a picture of it so you can look at that and sort of have a reference to how that would look. We're going to start on the hands. Basically, they're just solid shapes. They don't have to be anything specific right now. Just sort of curve them off like they're wrapped around something. And this might require you to position the arms a little bit differently than what you had originally intended. And just simply start working on the shape of the hands. You have the thumb below the one hand, and then the other hand's just facing the complete opposite direction. On the end of the handle is a large circle, and then inside the large circle is another circle that I guess we'll add later. The guard of the sword is a large disc shape, way larger disc shape. It's way larger than the circle at the end of the handle. And to make that look like it's got some dimension to it, just add a line across it. The sword blade basically is just a rectangle going across. It's kind of thin. And then at the end, it starts rounding off into a point. It's not very sharp, but that's just the source drawing I had. You can make it look sharp, you can make it look dull. Just be creative with your drawings. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up some of our sketch lines just so it's not so messy. And that'll really help us to start thinking about what the character is going to look like when we get it outlined. On the sword, you got a little bit more detail to it than just the blade itself. There are two lines coming off from the point at which it starts curving towards the point at the sword, and then a line going straight from where those connect in the center to the guard. Of course, my words probably don't help much. It's easier to see that point. Some of his hair actually pokes up in front of the blade, as you can see as I put. And once you think that you've gotten the sword drawing completely finished, or not completely finished, but pretty much wrapped up, what you can begin doing is outlining the basic shape of the sword with your pencil. And this will really help to prepare for the final outline that we're going to do with our Sharpie. On the arm, you can just add a little bit more detail. You don't have to go super detailed like I did for this. Just add some cloth wrinkles to make it look like clothing. And the best places to add those at would be the joints, like the elbow and the shoulder, and sometimes even the wrist. inside the circle on the end of the handle is another circle. I think this turns out to be a nice looking gem. Now we're going to do some serious work on the hands. Pretty much what you want to do for the fingers is just make some angled rectangles going across the blade, and it's pretty much their general shape. You can make it look like they're wrapping around it more, but his hands are kind of tiny compared to the sword. So that looks pretty good. And then for the other one, you don't so much as see the fingers coming off of it. They're just impressions of the fingers. You don't have to show all the fingers either because they're partially covered by the other hand. And I decided to put the sleeve up a little bit more on his hand. And that looks pretty good for the hands. If you want to, you can change the position of the hands, maybe. It's up to you. Be creative. I wonder how many times I've said that. Could someone count that up and put that in a comment? Do it. I dare you. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your thin Sharpie and you're going to outline basically every single line you want to keep of your drawing of Toon Link. And when you're doing this, please be careful. You don't want to mess up this drawing when you've come this far. Just be careful while you're outlining it and just outline it. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then once you get the outline done, you can take your eraser and erase a bit to get rid of your sketch lines. And this really cleans up the drawing a lot, and it makes sure you don't lose your lines. Then what I decided to do just for extra effect is take my thick Sharpie and put an outline along the edge of the entire Toon Link drawing. And this just makes it look super toony. Alright, now we're going to color the drawing. First off, his eyes are kind of black and gray, but they have a little bit of blue to them. You can mix in colors however you see fit. I just added a little bit of black to sort of dull it down a bit. And his eyebrows are black. And for the rest of the colors on Toon Link's body, what we're going to do is we're going to lay down a very light shade of that color. Whatever color it may be. The yellow for the hair and the buckle, the gray for the sword and leggings. Just lay down a base coat color, and then I'll show you what to do afterwards. This is going to leave some room for some nice shading. The circle at the end of the sword in my drawing is blue. I don't know if it changes ever. I just decided to draw it as I saw it. And the tunic is green. The signature green of the hero's tunic. Yeah. Boots are brown in my picture. I don't know if he could have any other boots. And his sleeves are sort of a lime green. Now, skin color is sort of a hard color to mix a lot of times. If you have a lot of colored pencils available to you, you should be able to have a whole bunch of different choices. But if you don't, it might take a while to mix the color. I recommend trying some light shades of yellow, orange, possibly red. Now, we're going to start the shading of the drawing, and we're going to start off with the hair. I chose to do a dark brownish yellow color for the shading of the hair. And pretty much the same principle works for all the other colors on the drawing. All you have to do is take a color that's darker than the base coat color used and just basically color away from the light source that you chose to have in your drawing. I chose to have mine at the top left, and this puts all the shadows at the bottom right. On his tunic, near the base of it, you might want to start giving some dimension to how a tunic actually folds and which parts are getting the shadows more. And on the belt, it's not that much. And then what you want to do after you've shaded is the final step for coloring is you want to go back and you want to color in with your base coat color on the same color, and this just gives it a better, fuller color and really completes the color of your drawing. On the sword, the guard is a dark gray, like that. And just add a little black to the end of it. Handle's brown. Add some gray to the circle at the end. And that's basically how you color in and draw Toon Link. If you want to go on to the next part of this tutorial, you can learn how to draw Link, or you can just skip to the end to finish up your drawing.